I'm Kim Berry, editor of Food and Drink Business, and today we're joined by Cameron Gordon from Incite to talk about all things export into a range of markets throughout Southeast Asia. Hi, Cameron.
How you doing, Kim?
Very well. Today we're going to take our audience to Hong Kong. If we're looking at Hong Kong as a market, and let's take a premium product for argument's sake, who's the customer? Can you give us a snapshot of who that customer is in Hong Kong?
Okay, yeah, sure. Look, I think the Hong Kong market's changed, over perhaps the last 10 years. Up until perhaps 5 years ago, a number of more premium brands were really relying on, Chinese tourists coming down, from China to let's holiday or stay in Hong Kong, and that really did fuel the premium end of the market.
Right.
The number of Chinese tourists these days has been cut back significantly. There's a number of reasons. One is obviously political, but also, the Chinese cities have developed in such a way now that when it comes to attractions and the like, Hong Kong doesn't quite have the allure that it used to. The other thing that's changed as well is that, the expat market, which again fueled the Hong Kong market for imported products, because of the cost of real estate and the like in Hong Kong, quite a number of those banks and finance houses have actually left. Hong Kong, and when you combine the political challenge that political challenges that have existed, as well as the fact that COVID went on for much longer in Hong Kong than it did a lot of other places, the landscape of Hong Kong's changed, quite a lot. So nowadays you're really in a lot of ways relying on the Hong Kongese consumer, and that's a different type of consumer to those previous consumers. So Hong Kongese very busy people. Hong Kong is a very heavy and demanding life. It's a very small city. Everybody's very busy. Getting around is challenging and the like. So, you really need to find a way to, cater your products to consumers that perhaps have traveled and understand foreign brands, so that they understand the premium proposition, they understand the trending categories. But you've also got to work out, above and beyond the product, you've really got to think about how to talk to them. And a lot of that comes back to that marketing and that promotion strategy, that distribution strategy from, where are you selling your products? Where are your consumers? Right through to that strategy for attacking that online grocery channel, which is growing as well through Hong Kong TV Mall.
And so in another episode that we've done on the Singapore market, you were talking there about how there was a duopoly when it came to sort of the supermarket space. What does that look like in Hong Kong?
Unfortunately, it's very similar. In Singapore, you've got the Dairy Farm Group, and you've got Fair Price, which is effectively the government owned supermarket group. In Hong Kong, you've got Dairy Farm, same as in Singapore. So Dairy Farm's a kind of a regional retailer, and then you've got another group called A.S. Watson. So, you've got the similar challenges. You've got the similar opportunities and challenges that come with that. The opportunities are that you're only servicing two retailers, major retailers. So collections, channeling of marketing funds is quite straightforward, or can be quite straightforward. The challenges are that, again, because of that concentrated power within those two retailers, the cost to participate in those retailers is quite high. Again, there's listing fees, there's compulsory marketing activities that need to be signed up to that are led through the retailer, these things. So, double-edged sword. There are certainly opportunities of that, but there are challenges as well. I mean, one positive that's really come up in the last couple of years is there's an online retailer called HKTV Mall, and they are really opening up that space for brands that perhaps don't have the funds available to pay to get on the shelves in other two retailers. and they're much more dynamic when it comes to the marketing activity you can actually activate. It's all cataloged, it's all easy to sign up for. Okay. And trying to engage those bricks and mortar retailers on marketing has always been challenging. It's always been very opportunistic.
Right. And I'm not wanting to pit, a country against another country, but if a company was looking to a country, I should say, if a company was looking to export, why would it go to Singapore instead of Hong Kong, or vice versa?
Vice versa.
They sort of strike me as both quite developed markets.
Very developed, very mature markets. They understand imported products, very open markets. No import duties in Hong Kong. Very easy to do business in both markets. Right. In some ways, Hong Kong is Singapore's answer, or the Singaporean answer to North Asia versus Southeast Asia. In some ways, it's a little bit more complex than that. It's a very open market, so typically anything that can be sold in Australian supermarkets will be able to be sold in Singapore or Hong Kong supermarkets. Right. I say typically, that's not always the case, but typically that's the case. I guess the difference between, there are similarities between Singapore and Hong Kong in that exhibition space way of thinking. I guess one of the major differences for Hong Kong is it's parked right next to China, right? So, there is an argument to be had that succeeding in Hong Kong may get you exposure for the China market. It may, either through consumers coming over the border and building awareness, or business decision makers, retailers or distributors coming over. It doesn't always work that way, but for companies that are looking at developing the China market, there could be some advantage by succeeding in the Hong Kong market.
Does language come into that at all?
Well, from a Chinese language perspective, the dialects are obviously different between Hong Kong and mainland. Yeah. In terms of, I guess you could talk about culture and the like, and ways of talking to consumers and the like. And if you find ways that are working, well in Hong Kong, for example, there could be some crossovers there for the Chinese market potentially as well.
How we're looking, within Australia and New Zealand, at demographic growth, where we now have Gen Zs now sizing baby boomers and yep. Gen Y. Is that global? Like, is that happening in Hong Kong just like it is here, or is it not following that pattern?
I don't have those stats on file, but what I would say is that obviously media consumption is a big deal when it comes to especially that digital space. And a big part of our business, especially over the last few years, what is that, prior to COVID, brands would typically tip 100% of their funds into in-store promotion activity. When COVID hit, that tap was turned off, obviously, because you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that channel anymore. So what we saw within the trade in basically all the markets that we work in, including Hong Kong and Singapore, is that the expectation moved to having a strong digital strategy. So the importance of that digital strategy, though, of course, is that it's localized. It's localized to meet the local consumer around things that resonate with them, language, obviously, activities, competitions, that type of thing. So yeah, I would definitely say that talking to that younger generation in all markets is very important, especially with the types of brands that we work with, which are typically brands that cater to that demographic.
Right. And so, look, we're almost coming to the end of our little session. So what can you tell me in terms of, for Australian exporters, why should they prioritise Hong Kong? Like, what are some reasons for that?
Yeah, look, I think it's, I don't want to make Hong Kong sound like Singapore because it's very different, but I think, brands that are doing well at home and that do want to get offshore, it does make sense in some ways to go after markets which are open, which are sophisticated, which have consumers markets that understand Western brands and that have the ability to pay for them. So, Singapore and Hong Kong typically tick those two boxes. And also from a regulatory perspective, Hong Kong is incredibly open. So, whereas in other countries that we'll talk about in the series, there are some pretty burdensome processes and hoops that need to be jumped through prior to shipping goods to those markets. Hong Kong can be turned on pretty quickly. As long as you go get the fundamentals right partner, right strategy around pricing, marketing, distribution is very important.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Cameron. Another fantastic little session to bring us up to date with Hong Kong, and I'm looking forward to our next chat and see what we uncover.